The state has finally put up a witness who it appears knows how to tell the truth. Hi, Tony DeWitt here. I'm a Missouri appellate attorney, retired, and I bring you a fresh perspective on the law without offering any legal advice. So pull up a chair. This is what we're discussing today. Yesterday, we were treated to the testimony of Zachary Clark, who is a Massachusetts state trooper, and apparently he does a lot of their photography work. And he testified on direct about taking photographs and taking photographs of the vehicle and that sort of thing. And then the cross-examination by Mr. Yannetti demonstrated that indeed he does know how to answer a question, unlike Buchanan and McCabe and Roberts and Gallagher. He actually knows how to answer a question. Let's watch.
Okay, so going back to February 1st of 2022, you learned that Michael Proctor had called your unit, resulting in your involvement in this case on that date, correct?
That's right.
And Michael Proctor had requested that you go to the Canton Police Station?
That's correct.
At the time, were you aware that the Canton Police Station, or the Canton Police Department, I should say, had a conflict of interest with this investigation?
Yes.
Rephrase it.
Well, were you aware when you were called out on this case that John O'Keefe had been found mortally wounded on Brian Albert's lawn?
I was advised of that fact upon my arrival.
Okay. And you were advised of the fact that Brian Albert's brother was a Canton police detective?
I did not know that.
All right. Still, it was the Canton Police Station and not a state police barracks where Michael Proctor instructed you to go, correct?
That's right.
Was he there before you, or did you arrive there before him?
He was there before me.
When you got there, where did you see Michael Proctor within the Canton Police Department?
Inside the garage bay.
And is that also called a sally port?
Yes.
And when you got there, was Michael Proctor the one to direct you to the Lexus SUV?
Yes.
And when you got there on February 1st, that was the first time that you laid eyes on that vehicle, correct?
Yes, it is.
A couple of things I want you to notice here. He has been looking straight ahead. He has been making good eye contact with the questioner. He has not had a fast blink rate. You haven't seen his respiratory rate increase. He is sitting there very calmly telling the truth. No, I didn't see that. Yes, I did see that. Whatever the case is. He isn't embellishing. He isn't trying to deflect the question. This is a witness who is going to come off credibly to the jury. So it's important that Mr. Yannetti take care of him properly on the cross-examination. And he's certainly not somebody who needs to have the treatment that Buchanan took, because this guy is telling the truth.
There was no other investigator from the State Police Detectives Unit or the CPAC unit there with the Lexus SUV except for Michael Proctor, correct?
There were other investigators from the Norfolk District Attorney's Office present that morning.
In any case, you had no personal knowledge prior to your arrival of how long Michael Proctor had been with that SUV before you got there, correct?
That's right.
You have no personal knowledge about whether anyone was monitoring Michael Proctor while he was near the vehicle before you got there.
That's correct.
And before you got there, you had no idea how much access Michael Proctor had to that vehicle, right?
Correct.
So the jury is hearing a lot about Michael Proctor, and clearly they understand from the opening that this guy was up to some hijinks somewhere. And now they're hearing about how he wasn't supervised. They are hearing that there is a potential that he had to have altered evidence or changed evidence. Without actually getting into whether he did or not, they are at least establishing that he had the means, motive, and opportunity to do that.
Your assignment was to take photographs and to process the passenger's compartment in particular for fingerprints.
Correct.
And you did that.
Yes, I did.
Bless you. About a year and a half after that, on July 18th of 2023, you participated in this investigation again, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Now it's been a year and a half since the actual events, and they've had nothing but time between January 29th and a year and a half later to collect evidence, interview witnesses, get their statements, talk to them, chase down leads, do all of that. And now, 18 months later, they are finally going to interview this person. So the uh, Trooper Proctor, takes along Zachary Clark with him to go do this interview.
That you would be participating in an interview of Colin Albert. You knew that he was Brian Albert's nephew, correct?
I was advised that prior to the interview, yes.
You conducted that interview along with Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
At the time, Michael Proctor was a state trooper in that unit, correct?
Yes, he was.
And you knew he was also the lead investigator on the case, correct?
He was the case officer, yes.
The real question, which is coming up, is did this trooper know that there was more than just a tangential relationship here, that they were actually social friends, and that you had one friend conducting an interview of another? But we'll see what happens when that question gets asked.
At the time of that interview on July 18th, before you began questioning of Colin Albert, had Michael Proctor revealed to you his connections with the Albert family?
Sustained.
Will you approach?
Go on to the next video and see if you can come back.
Did Michael Proctor reveal to you that he and Kevin Albert had socialized together by drinking alcohol in his cruiser?
Sustained injures. I'm going to ask you to strike that question. Disregard.
I need to be heard at sidebar.
So here we go again. We are almost at the point where we're going to get some real truth involved, that this trooper likely did not know that, and the judge decides that they can't ask this question. The idea of a particular trooper's bias or friendship with one of the potential suspects in this case is clearly relevant. And obviously, they have this information and it's asked in good faith. So the only reason it could possibly be excluded is judicial error. And I can't fathom in my mind any reason why that should have been excluded. Now, fortunately, the jury heard the question, and then they heard the judge tell them to ignore the question, which of course is very similar to telling somebody, okay, whatever you do, I want you to go stand in the corner, and whatever you do, don't think about an elephant in a pink tutu, right? That's just not what we're going to do.
Sir, when you went with Michael Proctor to interview Colin Albert, you knew that the case originated on January 29th of 2022?
I was aware of that.
And the date that you conducted that interview was July 18th of 2023?
That's correct.
Did you ever ask Michael Proctor why he waited a year and a half to interview Colin Albert?
I did not.
Once that interview was concluded, one of the two of you had to write a report to document what Colin Albert had told you, correct?
That's correct.
And Michael Proctor, as the lead investigator, was the one to write the report, correct?
Michael Proctor wrote that report.
You did not write it.
Correct.
He chose the language to use in that report, correct?
Correct.
And you weren't standing over him while he was typing it up, correct?
Correct.
And he wrote that report to his supervisor without running every word by you, correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever review that report to check whether it was accurate?
Not before it was published.
I'm not sure what Yannetti was doing there, but I'm sure he had a good reason for it. Perhaps he's trying to let the trooper off in the event that Trooper Proctor might have made really insipid statements in the course of conducting that interview or in the course of writing the report of it. Either way, I was a little puzzled by why he did that.
And the only other thing I have for you, sir, is you were called to photograph evidence on February 1st. Were you ever asked to go to 34 Fairview Road on February 8th to photograph and document evidence supposedly found on that day?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to go to 34 Fairview Road to document any evidence on February 10th?
No, I wasn't.
How about February 11th?
No, sir.
And then on February 18th, nearly 3 weeks after January 29th, did anybody contact you to ask you to come out and photograph and document evidence that was supposedly found 3 weeks later?
Ask it differently, Ms.
Yes.
Giannetti.
Were you called out to 34 Fairview Road on February 18th of 2022 to photograph and document anything?
February 1st was the only date I was called to 34 Fairview, sir.
So the answer to my question is no, correct?
That's correct.
As I've said frequently, it's really important to have a theme when you go into trial, and that you do everything you can to get that theme in front of the jury through every witness if at all possible. And of course, one of the themes here is they didn't know because they didn't look. They didn't really investigate. And it seems to me that if you're recovering evidence on days other than February 1, you'd want the guy who photographed the stuff on February 1 to come and take the photographs on the 3rd and the 8th and the 10th and the 11th and the 18th. But of course, they didn't do that. And he testified the only day he was there was February 1. This is another example of the defense team getting their theme in every witness. And I think they're doing a good job in that regard. In the grand scheme of things, I don't believe, other than laying a foundation for the photographs that are used in the case, I don't believe that this trooper had anything substantive to tell on the prosecution side. But again, on the defense side, the defense made them their witness. They have him telling the story, obviously not lying, not having to be coached, not having to ask, well, what do you mean photograph, or something like that. In a trial, especially one where somebody's life is on the line, and certainly the rest of her life is on the line in this trial, you have to make sure that you use every opportunity that you're gifted and exploit it. And that's exactly what Yanetti's doing here. That's what I have for you today. I hope you found it helpful, interesting, or maybe both. If there's a subject you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to send me an email at the address above. If you like what we do, please feel free to subscribe and come on back to the beach tomorrow. I release videos every weekday, weather and work permitting. If you have the opportunity today, do a kindness for your fellow man. It makes the world a better place, one kind act at a time. And now, YouTube has some suggestions for other videos of mine that you might like.